Good morning. Let us begin very quietly, humbly, as if we were in a small room together. We are here not to polish a belief or sharpen an argument, but to review what has come to light so that we may live it. Don't try to teach it, live it, exemplify it. If a question rises for which you have no answer, let that be holiness. I don't know, that hasn't unfolded to me yet, remains an honest prayer. These hours are not for rules. There are none. There are principles, and they are not mine. I can only bear witness as they take root in consciousness. You are left with a principle. The principle has to take root in you, bone of your bone. In other words, we are not learning a technique for getting, we are consenting to a life of outflow. The law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. We are moving from ledger to life. Now, before we utter one syllable about give and it shall be given unto you, we must place the cornerstone. Money isn't supply. People aren't supply. Circumstances aren't supply. I is supply. I embody supply. Supply isn't external to me. It unfolds outwardly as fruit appears on a living tree, but its life is within. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added, not bartered, appearing, not purchased. In other words, supply is not what you receive. Supply is what the presence in you cannot help but pour forth. If thou knewest the gift of God, Jesus said to a tired woman by a well, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. Living water. Not a bucket loan paid back with interest, but a spring that knows only outgo. When that dawns even a little, fear thins. You stop staring at the mailbox. You stop measuring people as channels. You begin to rest in the eye that is forever giving itself, and then forms in due season show themselves as what is needed for that hour. So take this quietly. Don't try. Live it. Sit, if you will, not asking for supply to come from out there, but acknowledging I and the Father are one, and this oneness is the wellspring of all appearing. If nothing answers your mind just then, do not be disturbed. Say with me, I don't know, it hasn't unfolded to me yet. Let the principle take root. Money isn't supply. I is supply. I embody supply. Start there. And the verse about giving will cease to be a bargain and will become your breath. Now let us come to the sentence we have so often used to frighten ourselves into charity. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You misheard it when you took it as a business proposition. It is not the universe winking, you put in 2, I'll send you 4. There is no spiritual commerce. There is no sacred vending machine in the sky that drops blessings when you feed it coins of kindness. There is God, the living eye, giving itself. And in the presence of that outflow, forms appear sometimes as coins, sometimes as ideas, sometimes as the quiet that ends an argument. In other words, the verse does not describe a bargain. It names a state grace where giving is the very way supply takes form. The law came by Moses with its tallies, its sow and reap arithmetic, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Move out from the law that measures and into grace that outpours. Freely ye have received, freely give. Freely, without meter, without stopwatch, without receipt. When the orange tree bears, it is not trading with the sun. It is revealing the life already within. So with you. When the eye that is your life stirs, the natural sign of it is outgo, love that cannot help itself, wisdom that answers before the question is finished, peace that refuses to take offense, that is, give. The moment you begin to calculate a return, you have stepped off the holy ground. The instant you say, I will send this so that next Friday that will come, you have left grace for the ledger. You are back under the law that tallies. Take no thought for your life. He said, consider the lilies. Lilies don't count, they unfold. So let your giving be the lilies unfolding of what you already are. If you cannot feel it yet, do not worry it with mental arithmetic. Be still. I don't know, let that honesty open you, and the life will show itself. Suppose you feel moved to send a note, a dollar, a loaf, a word. Do it because it is your nature, not because it is your strategy. If nothing seems to return from that act, let it be. The outflow fulfilled its purpose. It kept you in grace. And in due season, God's season, not the calendar's running over, appears where and as needed. My kingdom is not of this world. Do not drag it into the counting house. You are left with the principle. Give as unfolding life, not as purchase. Then it shall be given because it is already given, and grace will have room to appear. Let us stand before a simple orange tree. You smile at the bright fruit, and you may even thank the weather or the grocer or your good luck, but the oranges are not the supply. The invisible life is the supply at work. The fruit is only the witness. If you pluck every orange today and cart them off, have you robbed the tree of supply? No. As long as life abides in the root, fruit will appear in season. In other words, forms are effects, not causes. The cause is invisible life. The kingdom of God is within you. I is supply. I embody supply. When you look to the fruit as your source, you have mistaken the sign for the life that sent it. Abide in me, and I in you, said the Master. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, so neither can ye. The abiding is the supply. The fruit is the inevitable appearing. So stop staring at oranges, money, clients, opportunities, as if they hold power. They are seasonal forms. Today they are on the branch, tomorrow they are juice in a glass, next week there are none, and the tree is as rich as ever because its wealth is rooted being. Honor the tree within, live in the I that gives itself. And out of that indwelling, forms will appear as needed and when needed. Now, this is important. When a season seems bare, do not curse the tree or dig it up to see if life is there. You cannot see life with the eyes. You can only know it by its nature and trust its rhythm. In due season we shall reap if we faint not. Do you see? The fainting is the temptation to chase effects, to glue plastic oranges on the limbs and call it prosperity. Resist that. Return to the root. In other words, chase causes within. Be still and know that I am God. Sit in that stillness until the sense of need thins and the quiet announces itself. That quiet is the sap rising. I have watched this not as a theory, but as a way of life. When consciousness abides, fruit appears, sometimes as money, sometimes as an introduction, sometimes as the peace that ends a lawsuit, but always as timing, order, fitness. A tree is known by its fruit, yes, but the tree is not the fruit. The tree is life embodied. So let your eyes be single. Right seeing is to recognize every appearing as timed unfoldment of what already lives in I. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Give from the root and let the branch be. In that grace, supply is never absent. It is invisibly present, forever becoming visible as your need of the hour. So then, if the tree is life and the fruit is its sign, what is your fruit? Outgo, not merely coins or packages. Outgo is the impartation of what the I within is forever pouring attention, forgiveness, silence, when silence is truth, competence that leaves a place better than you found it, peace that enters a room and the argument loses its breath. Freely ye have received, freely give. That is not a rule to obey. It is the description of how life lives. In other words, your wealth is not a heap, it is a river. He that believeth on me, said the Master, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Rivers flow. If a river refuses outgo, it ceases to be a river. it becomes a swamp. So does supply when we cork it with fear, calculation, and personal claims. Now, do not make a performance of this. Don't try. Live it. Let attention be given, because the eye within cannot help but see and love where it looks. Let forgiveness be the outflow that refuses to collect debts in memory. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, not as arithmetic, but as nature. Let silence be the refusal to sell your words for approval, and competence be the quiet artistry of God expressing as your craft, washing a cup, drafting a plan, diagnosing a leak. Let peace be what the Christ in you gives. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, so that whoever meets you drinks and doesn't even know why their thirst eases. That is wealth. That is supply in motion. Please notice, we are shifting identity now. You are not a collector, you are a conduit. This is God unfolding as message, as dollars, as opportunity. If you try to own the kindness, my generosity, my talent, my insight, the flow thins. Pride is a hand on the spigot. Humility releases it. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. Such as I have life, presence, the creative word, this is the coin that spends anywhere. And curiously, when it goes out, it appears as silver and gold, where silver and gold are needful. But do not reverse it. Do not give to get. Give because I is your name and giving is your nature. What then of your bank book? It is an effect. Its figures will declare the quality and constancy of your outgo more reliably than your anxieties will. A store that radiates attention, cleanliness, honesty, and quiet cheer will discover that people cannot help but come and cannot help but return, but it was never the people who were supply. The wealth was the atmosphere, the competence, the peace, the outflow of I as retail. A student who lays aside self-advancement and outpours accuracy, order, and goodwill into every task will find promotions appearing, letters arriving, doors opening, but it was never the promotion that was supply. It was I as intelligence in motion. In other words, your supply is the quality and constancy of what you impart. Keep the river clean and moving. Forms will find their way to your banks. Do not, and this is important, do not make outgo a technique. You cannot counterfeit love with a smile you are renting or peace with a tone you are buying on credit. Sit first in the root. Be still until the sense of I grows warm and effortless. Out of that rest, what goes out is not personal. It is impersonal grace. Then attention is not flattery. It is presence. Forgiveness is not superiority. It is amnesia of wrong. Silence is not sulking. It is reverence. Competence is not ambition. It is order revealing itself. Peace is not passivity. It is authority without noise. These are not things you manufacture. These are rivers of living water. And if for a day you feel dry, say with me, I don't know, nothing seems to move, then return to the well and wait. The river never manufactures its own source. It abides in the springs. When the sense of source stirs, outgo begins without your push. You will notice it by its ease. You will notice that you are less interested in harvest and more in the joy of flow. That is grace taking you out from under the ledger. That is wealth no thief can steal, no moth can eat, because it is not a heap but a life. Live as the place where I, the supply, pours itself, and let the world register the fruit as it will and when it will. Now we come to a threshold. Cosmic law is the ledger. Sow and reap, tit for tat, eye for eye, every cause with its effect neatly entered. The law came by Moses, and that served its hour. But grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Grace is not the ledger. Grace is the light that overrules the ledger. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. In other words, as long as you stand as a separate person trying to manage effects, you must keep accounts. But the moment you abide in I, you leave arithmetic for life. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Give, and it shall be given. That is not bookkeeping, that is being. Let me tell you what I have witnessed. A young man with a stiff sentence, carved into stone by the court, came with no bargain to offer, only a willingness to sit in the presence and let outflow replace protest. He began to give letters of goodwill to those he had harmed, small services in the cell block, prayer without price. The verdict did not get paid off, it was set aside. The judge called it new information, I call it grace. A shopkeeper crushed under debt stopped selling desperation and started pouring order, cleanliness, and honesty into every inch of his place. No special sales to bribe fortune, just outgo. Creditors, and you know how they count, suddenly found restructuring possible. In another town, two families who would not look at one another met over a sick child. One act of unpriced assistance and enmity melted as if it had never happened. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Grace does not pay off the past, it sets it aside. Go and sin no more. That is not a settlement. That is a new life. Cosmic law demands equivalence. Grace reveals innocence. Under the ledger, you owe. Under grace, you are. When the I within is realized, former harvests lose authority because their root is gone. The tree has changed. How, then, do you walk this out? Give without price. Refuse the inner accountant who whispers, now, what will this bring me by Friday? Let him go unfed. Do good because good is your nature. Forgive before apology. Offer competence without a raise attached. Bless those who curse you, not as strategy, but as outflow. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Each time you decline to total a day's spiritual receipts, you step from ledger to life and grace, unmetered, unveils what no arithmetic could have promised. Now here is where most of us stumble. We hear a principle and reach for words before we have breath. You may not at first be able to describe it. Don't try. Sit in the I until it warms you. Let the fear drain. If a friend asks, explain this giving without price, it may be that the honest answer for that hour is, I don't know. It hasn't unfolded in words to me yet. Never hesitate to say, I don't know. Let the Spirit teach both of us. It is the Spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Words without life are shelled. Life will clothe itself with words when it is ready. Begin then with unannounced acts, small, quiet, outgo, that no one can applaud and that your own mind can't easily count. Wipe a counter you didn't soil. Answer a message with patience you didn't plan. Return a harsh tone with a soft one, not to be noble, but because peace is your nature. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. Do not trouble to label this practice. Live, exemplify. In other words, let the river move and ask no permission of the calendar, the audience, or the mirror. These little obediences are how a principle takes root. They are how it becomes flesh of your flesh and bone of your bone. There is no way to teach what you do not, to some degree, exemplify. You can repeat phrases and people will nod, but nothing is imparted until something is embodied. Be doers of the word and not hearers only. When the thing has lived in you, speech comes unforced. My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. That is the posture. We are not manufacturing a talk. We are consenting to a life that, when ripe, overflows as utterance. Articulation ripens after demonstration. First the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear. If you attempt to harvest before the corn, you bruise the field and call it ministry. I watched a woman, quiet, untrained, and shy, try to persuade her brother into this way. She brought him pamphlets, stacked lectures on his table, argued at Sunday dinners, and all it did was make him clever at saying no. Then she stopped. She began instead to leave his house better than she found it, to listen without mending him, to pay her share with no remark. Months later, he said in his own kitchen, "What is this quiet that seems to travel with you?" She spoke 2 sentences. That was all. He wasn't won by her words. He was drawn by the life they rode in on. So take this gently. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it in the most ordinary hours until grace finds in you a door it can use. If a student presses, "But how does it work?" Return within. And if there is no release to speak, rest. Open thou my lips, and my mouth shall shew forth thy praise. When the time is full, you will discover sentences forming themselves simple and sufficient. Until then, let the principle take root. Stand as the place where I, the supply, pours itself. Let life be established, and language will be given. Let us make this very simple, very safe, and very near. For the next 48 hours, we will not try to explain anything to anyone. We will live the outflow. This is not a campaign. It is an experiment. You are not performing for results. You are consenting to be what you already are. Freely ye have received, freely give. For 2 days, allow at least 3 impersonal outflows to leave you without tag, price, or audience. Then watch not the world, watch the inner weather. Notice whether peace, ease, and direction come forward of themselves. That is grace acknowledging itself as you. First, an anonymous gratitude note. Not a lecture, not a moral, just a sentence or 2 of simple thanks or recognition unsigned. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. Slip it under a door, leave it on a desk, tuck it in a coat pocket, mail it without a return address, whatever form is at hand, but no name, no clue, and no telling afterward. Resist the itch to reveal. The moment you attach your identity to it for credit, you have asked it to be wages. Let it be life unpriced. I is supply. This is I revealing. Its nature without your signature. Second, a silent blessing in a line. You are in the grocer's queue, the airport, the traffic. Close the inner lips and release peace to every person in this line. Without words in the air, let the recognition form, the Lord in the midst of thee is mighty. Peace, be still. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Do not stare at anyone. Do not pick and choose the deserving. Let it be impartial, a mist that falls on all. You are not projecting thought. You are consenting to presence present. Stand as a window for it and say nothing to anyone about it. No one owes you a smile. Third, share a skill for 10 minutes with no credit. Show a colleague how to reconcile the account more cleanly. Help a neighbor align the hinge. Teach a child the chord without calling it a lesson. Decline attribution if it's offered. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. Then move on. Do not follow the gift to see where it lands. Do not attach your card. The gift was the outflow. The form will appear where form is appropriate beyond your ledger and timetable. Keep it impartial. Do not aim at important people as if they were faucets to your harvest. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils. In other words, stop treating persons as channels. Let the outflow go where it goes, common or crowned, friend or stranger, seen or unseen. Impartiality is purity. It keeps you out from under the old arithmetic that says, if I place it here, I will get it back there. No. Give, because giving is your nature. No strings. Forbid yourself during these 48 hours to look for any return from the recipient or the world. Don't check the mailbox with an eye on karma. Don't glance at your phone to see if the universe texted back. Don't evaluate the grocery line for evidence that your blessing worked. Take no thought. Each time that itch arises, smile inwardly and let it pass. My kingdom is not of this world. Outflow is your obedience. Outcome is grace's business. Now, journal the inner weather. After each outflow, sit 1 minute. Breathe. Note on paper if you like, or in quiet recollection whether peace, ease, or direction has increased. Not a payment, not a prize, just the river's tone. You may find that agitation lessens, a next step becomes obvious, or a sentence that had knotted up inside releases itself. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Those are the signs. They are not proof to anyone else, they are nourishment to you. And if you forget, if you go 3 hours or a whole day and remember only as you brush your teeth at night, begin again, no guilt. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Start at once with the next small outflow. In grace, everything is now. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. This little test is a doorway into that realization. For 2 days, let something good go out without demand, and watch the sufficiency that appears within. Do not argue with what you see out there. Attend to the river. Where I is, supply is. Where supply is, outflow is its nature. Live those 48 hours as the place where I pours itself, and let the forms good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, appear in their season, in their way, and to their glory. Now let us turn to the quiet center from which any true outflow is born. Sit. Be still. No ceremony is required, only a willingness to let the noise settle. Close the door, or if you cannot, close the inner door. And very simply, without strain, say within yourself, Father, I thank thee that I and thou are one. I embody supply, not as a spell, not as a bargain, but as recognition. Let those words rest. If there is an impulse to add 100 more, don't. Let the river speak for itself. Do not image anything. No envelopes in the mailbox, no new clients at the counter, no healed report arriving on schedule. Pictures are of the world. Presence is not a picture. My kingdom is not of this world. Be still and know that I am God. Keep your thought as empty of forms as the sky is empty of fences. If a face rushes in and you begin to choose and arrange channels, smile and let it go. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils. In other words, stop appointing persons and circumstances to be your supply. I is supply. I embody supply. Sit in that. Wait until a sense of isness rises, not fireworks, not a quiver to boast of, but a quiet that has weight, a simple okayness. Sometimes it feels like warmth behind the breastbone. Sometimes it is a softening of the forehead. Sometimes it is nothing your senses can report, only the end of pushing. When I consciously make contact with God, I am then at one with every spiritual idea. If nothing lights, do not worry it. I don't know, that hasn't unfolded to me yet. Let that honesty be prayer. Sit in silence 2 minutes more. Breathe as if life were breathing you. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. You are not trying to attract anything. You are consenting to be what already is. When the quiet is present, say no more than is natural. Father, I thank thee. That is enough. Let it hold you as the ocean holds a leaf. Refuse petitions that push for shape. Forms are the fruit. This is the root. Take no thought for your life. The ideas that belong to this hour are already in the vine. The timing is in grace. Remain a moment longer than your habit. Let the mind doze against the shoulder of I. You will know the contact has done its work when you find yourself uninterested in getting and more at ease with being. Now, very gently, end with willingness. Use me as outflow today. Not use me to secure outcomes, not use me to impress, but use me as outflow. That is, let me be a place where I pause itself, rise without breaking the thread. Carry the contact into errands. Let meetings become ministry. A phone call becomes an altar because presence answers, not argument. An inbox becomes a field in which you sow accuracy and kindness. A hallway greeting is a cup of cold water in my name. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. Such as you have peace, attention, competence, let it go out with no price tag. Do not separate this from the ordinary. Pause 30 seconds before opening the shop door. Father, I thank thee that I and thou are one. I embody supply. Then step in and let the atmosphere do its own work. Before you answer the message that feels like sandpaper, breathe once. Peace, be still. Then reply from the river, not the reflex. If you lose the contact at 10 in the morning, begin again at 10:02. Pray without ceasing doesn't mean talk without ceasing. It means abide. And if you find yourself dry at 4, say quietly, I don't know, let me return. Sit for 1 minute at your desk. The well is where you left it. In this way you discover that conscious oneness opens the channel no human arithmetic can open. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. This contact is the realization in act. When the sense of I is alive in you, outflow is effortless, impersonal, unhurried, and the forms that belong to it arrive sometimes the same day, sometimes after a season rightly measured. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Do not watch the road. Attend to the root. Live today, seated in I, and let all your goings be the river giving itself. What not to do? First, do not count. The moment you begin to total up kindness given and results received, you have hired the inner accountant, and he only works under cosmic law. Ledger thinking will put you back under measure for measure. I sent 3 notes. Where are my 3 replies? Outflow is not payroll. Give, and it shall be given, is not wages, remember. It is unfoldment. Each time you catch yourself tabulating, smile, lay down the pencil, and return to the root. Give because I is your name. Give because life, to be life, must flow. Don't try, live it. Exemplify it. Do not submit to scarcity story. There is no such thing as competition in spiritual individuality. Whatever you are to be and do is embodied within the I that you are. It has no rival and requires no defense. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils. In other words, stop staring at neighbors and markets as judges of your portion. If you look aside to measure another's harvest, you will neglect your own root. The orange tree does not eye the lemon and tighten up. It abides and bears. Abide. Let your outflow be impersonal, attention here, competence there, a quiet blessing in a hallway without one glance over the shoulder to see who is gaining on you. There is no race in grace. Do not panic at delay. When forms linger out of sight, say honestly, I don't know how or when grace knows. That is not resignation. It is trust in the order of life. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. If you pry open the bud to hurry the rose, you bruise it. If you try to make tomorrow's fruit appear on today's branch, you will glue plastic oranges on the limb and call it prosperity. Refuse deadlines that scare you into bargains. Take no thought for your life. Keep the river moving. Let the banks appear when they must. Do not argue with appearances. What you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell is not creation. It is a mental image about creation. The things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. In other words, cease debating the shadow on the wall. Turn to the light that casts it. If a bank book frowns, if a report shouts, if a schedule threatens, do not wrestle with the paper or the pixels. Be still and know that I am God. Return to contact. Outflow peace into the very place that seems to accuse you. We walk by faith, not by sight. Substance answers. Argument only thickens the mist. So, if you find yourself counting, stop and bless. If you catch the old tale of scarcity starting its chant, answer softly, I is supply. If delay knocks, say, I don't know, grace knows, and keep giving freely. If appearances crowd, do not debate, outlive them in silence and steady outgo. Keep your giving free of bargaining, and let the forms that belong to it arrive in their own hour, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Let me give you demonstrations not to dazzle you, but to show you how a principle breathes when it is permitted to live. These are not stunts. These are illustrations of the fact that outflow does not purchase outcomes. It reveals grace, and grace, more often than our arithmetic can tolerate, sets aside the sentence already written on paper. The law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. A clerk came under judgment charges on his record, a parole hearing ahead, supervisors whispering, the whole office thick with the odor of failure. He came to me not to fight the court, but because he could not bear his own atmosphere. I don't know what to do, he said. I don't know either that hasn't unfolded to me yet. Said an I. Begin to give what you have without price. And so he did, daily, anonymously. A fresh pot of coffee before dawn with no note attached. A copier tray refilled before the first rush. A quiet, intentional, peace be still, breathed over the cubicles as he walked in. He answered the harsh caller with a soft voice, not to earn points, but because peace was now more interesting to him than winning. No speeches to colleagues, no defense. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. At the hearing, something unreasonable happened, and yet it was right. A supervisor who had refused to advocate for anyone requested to speak. There is a different spirit in that corner, she said, and it has changed our morning. The parole officer, known for hard sentences, used the phrase new information. The calendar shortened. He was not paying off a debt with cups of coffee. He had stepped from ledger to life, and grace, recognizing itself, rearranged the forms. Go and sin no more. That is not wages, that is a new day. A family, two branches that hadn't shared a table in years, both convinced the other owed the first apology. Do you know that posture? A niece in the middle began the only place she could, outflow. Silent blessing at the sink, bless them that curse you. A meal left at a door without a note. The small repairs done on a Saturday, loose gate latched, a flickering porch light replaced. She refused every inner defense that wanted to explain why she was right. A soft answer turneth away wrath, and sometimes the soft answer has no words at all. Months passed, and nothing dramatic seemed to occur until it did. A funeral drew them into one room. The aunt who would not look up crossed the aisle first. I don't know what happened, she whispered, but the edge went out of me. The record of wrongs, carefully kept for a decade, felt suddenly old, like last season's calendar. Outflow didn't buy reconciliation. It revealed a presence in which hostility could find no air. And there was a craftsman whose business fell quiet, no calls, the ledger thin, fear measuring every hour. We sat. Stop looking for customers as channels, I said. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils. For 6 weeks he shared skill with no invoice. A Saturday bench in his shop where neighbors learned to hone a blade, sand a joint, square a frame. Templates he had guarded, he posted openly. A competitor's apprentice with a crooked cut, he corrected the angle and sent him out smiling. Each evening he returned to contact. Father, I thank thee that I and thou are one. I embody supply. No affirmations to force results. No calendar dates circled and feared. Then ideas began to arrive like rain. A design for a full flat shelf at 3 a.m. An email from a school that had seen the template and wanted a set of classroom desks. A woman with a small gallery who had never heard his name walked in and said, I don't know how I got here. Do you build display plinths? Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? The famine ended not because he bought destiny with free labor, but because grace, unblocked, found its own channel. You see it? Principle, not magic. Outflow was not bribery, it was nature. The I that you are cannot help but give itself. And where grace is realized, the fruit often arrives unreasonably, yet rightly good measure. Not because you tallied goodness, but because life, recognized, is prolific. In other words, sentences legal, familial, financial lose authority when the consciousness that authored them is no longer on the throne. The tree changed. The root is different. Don't try, live it, exemplify it, give without price, keep out of the ledger, and let grace, which is already present, set aside what never belonged to your true life. Now a word about time, because this is where the old fear sneaks back in with a calendar under its arm. A contact made this morning may be conception, not delivery. The life is present, the seed is true, but birth belongs to another hour. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. In other words, let the thing have its season. My kingdom is not of this world's schedules. You are not pushing events down a chute. You are consenting to the life that knows its own rhythm. In due season we shall reap if we faint not. It may come the same day. It may take 3 or 5 years for the birth. I know that is not the favorite sentence in a world of overnight shipping. But grace is not a courier service. Do not force proofs. Do not pluck the bud to hurry the rose and then blame heaven because petals fall in your hand. Your part is outflow today. The appearing of forms keeps grace's own timetable. Each time the mind presses, when? Answer gently, I don't know, that hasn't unfolded to me yet. And then, very simply, live the outgo that is given you this hour. Take therefore no thought, for the morrow is not carelessness. It is fidelity to the present root. Think again of the orange tree. You cannot summon June into February by staring at the branch. Stay faithful to the tree, and the oranges will keep their appointment. There is invisible life in motion while the limb looks bare. Cells are trafficking, sap is rising. Something you cannot micromanage is on its way to visibility. So with supply, outflow is your obedience, outcome is grace's business. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting here isn't idleness, it is trustful activity. Give, bless, serve. Create without a stopwatch in your pocket. I have seen a design, conceived in a quiet hour, go to birth 5 years later as a partnership that could not have existed any sooner. The people had not been born into their parts yet. I have watched a reconciliation that seemed hopeless ripen over months of unpriced kindness until one day the fruit dropped into waiting hands. Did we make it happen by will? No. We lived the root, and life kept its word. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The world gives on deadlines, grace gives on readiness. So when forms delay, put your ear to the river. Be still and know. Let the daily outflow continue, impartial, unhurried, faithful. My kingdom is not of this world. Trust that kingdom to gestate what you cannot see. Outflow is your part now. The appearing of forms will arrive. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And they will be right on time for grace's clock, not ours. Good. Now we walk this into the street. Let today be simple and near. As you step into the grocery line, do not take thought for channels. Stand there as heir, not as beggar. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. In other words, you are not waiting for this world to supply you. You are the place where I, the supply, pours itself. Whisper within, without drama, use me as thy outflow here. Then let your eyes soften, your breath slow, your patience enlarge. You may offer your place to the one whose arms are full. You may steady the child's cart with a smile. You may simply refrain from adding agitation to the air. That is giving. That is wealth. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. At the inbox, before the first reply and the fifth demand, pause one breath. Use me as thy outflow here. You are not a defendant answering charges. You are a window for order, clarity, and peace. Let your light so shine before men, not as brightness at them, but as radiance through the work itself, clean subject lines, kindly brevity, accuracy without sting. Where the harsh note arrives, answer from the river. A soft answer turneth away wrath. You are not buying outcomes. You are letting grace wear the shape of competence and quiet. I is supply. I embody supply at the family table. Do not serve old records. Lay out your plate and before you speak, inwardly say, use me as thy outflow here. Let attention be your bread. Let listening be your wine. Bless those at that table who despitefully use you, if any seem to. And remember, impartiality is purity. Do not choose the deserving. Let presence, not preference, decide where the warmth lands. If apology is given, receive without sermon. If none is given, pour peace without demand. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. If at any point you feel dry or frightened or muddled, seek fellowship. Find a practitioner or a friend touched by grace and say simply, stand by with me. Let us be still together. There is no merit badge for solitary strength. Where two or three gather, not in chatter, but in silence, there am I in the midst. Let another's realize quiet hold you until your own springs again. Never hesitate to say, I don't know, stay with me while this unfolds. Humility is a door, not a defeat. Carry a small liturgy through the hours. Before a call, use me as thy outflow here. Before a task, use me as thy outflow here. Before sleep, Father, I thank thee. Do not make a fetish of words. Let them be a key that opens you to isness. Pray without ceasing. Is this abiding contact remembered, contact resumed, contact lived? And be reassured. Once grace has touched you, You do not return to the old consciousness unchanged. Even if tomorrow you forget and count, even if next week you argue with appearances, something in you knows the river and will not be satisfied with cisterns. The things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. You have tasted the unseen. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace, and grace has announced itself. Walk out, then not to get, but to give, because giving is what you are. Walk out as the place where I, the supply, pours itself through. Everything you do today, the line, the inbox, the table, the street, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Let them, and let the fruit appear in due season, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over.